What's up, guys? Welcome back to Faith Family Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Dominique, but you can call me Dom. I've actually been gone for a few days, maybe like 4 days. I went to a biblical counseling conference out in Texas. It was absolutely beautiful. It was really, really hot. And now I am back. I've been back for a few days, and I need to go outside and check on the garden. If you've been following me, you guys saw that I planted cover crops. I planted out my brassicas inside of the hoop house and all of the things to get ready for the fall and winter garden. And so I'm just gonna go out and check on them. I've been struggling with my drip irrigation. I mentioned, if you haven't seen that, my batteries for my drip, although they're new, for whatever reason has not been working. And so I don't know if I just need a new timer or what to do. So my drip has not been on for my garden, which has been fine because we have been getting a lot of cooler weather. But then that means that I have to constantly water inside my hoop house. So before I left, I did plant a lot of seeds. I planted cover crops, so we're just going to go out here and I'm just going to look around and see if I see any of the seeds that I planted sprouted or what's going on, and I'm going to take you guys with me. Immediately, the first thing I notice is my rose bush has finally started climbing pretty high. It's finally gotten taller than me. It's taken, I don't know, lots of years. The left side is higher than the right side, but you can see the new buds are forming, and when they do flower, they're absolutely beautiful. I had to come over here because I saw a pink flower. There's a zinnia that's actually growing in this uncovered pathway. This tarp, or this what is it called, landscape fabric, is supposed to be covered this whole area, and you can see it's not, and it's actually growing a zinnia. These blueberries have literally grown double the size. I look forward to the blueberry harvest that we're gonna have this coming year, because we had a great harvest last year, or this past year that just happened, and the bushes weren't even that established as they are this year. I'm just checking on the bed. I don't know if I told you guys, I planted these two beds out here before the hurricane that we had, Hurricane Helene, and with my brassicas, and then you can see the celery, and only the celery and the flowers survived. I have no idea why that is. It's really, really unfortunate because I absolutely love broccoli, and so that was probably about 64 broccoli plants that I planted out that did not survive. But when I came out here the next morning, I could see that the hurricane did knock a lot of, like, my landscape fabric was blew off with the pins taken out of the ground, and so you can tell the winds were really strong. But then the brassicas in that bed as well looked like they were just blown away, like they weren't there. And so I'm assuming that since I had just recently transplanted them within a few days, that they weren't really established, and so when the winds came, that it just washed it away. We also did have flooding as well. I don't know why the celery survived and the flowers and not the brassicas. It's a clue, like, yeah, it's just a guessing game to me, but I think there's no brassicas that survived in that bed, which is really, really sad, because not only did I spend money on those transplants, but I really actually love fall gardening more than I do the summer, because it's way less hot, and this is my type of weather when it's like 70 something degrees. It makes me want to come out here all the time. So these beds, I did plant a bunch of old carrot seeds from like 2017. I wasn't sure if they were going to sprout, and you can see I only got one. But then again, I was not maintaining this bed and keeping it wet like I know I should have, and so that's no surprise that none of the carrots really sprouted. I did the same thing for here, put in a bunch of old carrot seeds, and again, I see none of them sprouted. But like I said, I haven't been watering this bed or any of the beds, and I've been gone a week, so that shouldn't surprise. And we got my garden kitty. One of the good things I see over here is I planted a bunch of snapdragons. Not snapdragons, bachelor buttons in these holes. And I sprinkled a bunch, and I can see that we do have some germination on the bachelor buttons. And I'm guessing the difference between this and like the other garden beds, even though I haven't watered these either, is that the hay is keeping the soil moist. So one of the things I noticed is the front. I planted out this bed with a bunch of different seeds, whether they're spinach, arugula, just a mix of greens to keep the weeds from sprouting in here. And I see that they were older seeds, and so that's why I use so much lettuces and all the things. And I can see that half the bed, this is a 40-foot bed, so the first or the back 20 feet, especially this back row, is doing really good, but everywhere else I'm going to have to replant, which is okay. Those seeds were old, so I was just trying to use them up. But like this is really thick. This is what I wanted to be everywhere, and I see it's sparse, so we're gonna have to come back out here with some seeds. There's even some amaranth in here that I didn't replant. There's zinnias that I got blown over here, but then there's also some weeds back here that are starting to grow. So once we weed, I have to go back and replant. This wasn't necessarily a cover crop, but it was, I just tried to plant it thick enough to act as a cover crop and cover the ground. But the beds that I did cover crop with peas, these were tomato beds, and I uncovered them, weeded, and then we planted peas. And you can see I didn't cover them, and so I wonder if they dried out because we haven't had rain in a long time. I was just trying to water them every day until they started sprouting. And then, like I said, I've been gone a week, so we still have lots of seeds that didn't open yet. I don't know if they ever will. But the place that they did germinate is doing the job from keeping the weeds down. I really don't rarely see any weeds in these beds. I still have my sweet pepper bed. But then again, my tomato bed. In some of the beds, I did end up adding in some lettuces and mustards and radishes. So that's what you're seeing here. I do see some weeds mixed in right there. This one looks really nice. And I can see there's radishes. So this is probably the best looking bed as far as the cover crops that I've planted. As far as the most thickly planted. And then you can see my spicy peppers, both beds. They're starting to produce a second round of peppers. I think this bed is making me the happiest because it's the asparagus bed, and I had it covered once my husband knocked down all of the weeds. And then we uncovered it because I saw asparagus started growing again. And we've just been trying to keep it under control with weeds. And so far, so good. Even in saying that, knowing that it's the off season, time will really tell when the spring and summer comes, because that's when the weeds are really, really aggressive. Right now, we've just been coming out here like every day, I would say, and weed for about an hour at different places in the garden, so maybe not the same bed every day, and it seems to be doing good, but we'll see how that translates once spring and summer hits. The weather has been getting so much cooler, which is really, really, really nice, but in the weather getting cooler, and then my drip not working, I haven't been out here watering as much because I was expecting the rain and the cooler weather to really help with the seeds germinating. And so I do, like in some of those beds, have scarce or not great germination. I don't know the word I was looking for. I do have like not great germination, but I know it's due to my own failure in not watering as consistently as I should have. And since my drip isn't working, I really relied heavily on my drip irrigation, and so I really need to get that fixed. I thought that if I took out the batteries for a while and then I put them back in, it started working, and so I thought I had fixed the problem, but it's back broken again and it's not turning on when it needs to. And so I really needed to fix that problem, and I should have fixed it before I left, because now I come back and now those pea seeds, they probably dried out, and so I may end up having to replant or resow in some of those spots that's really have really big holes, because I do want to cover all of the ground, because although right now there isn't any weeds where the peas didn't germinate, when spring and summer and all that comes, they'll be ready to, the weeds will be ready to take over. I'm even looking in these beds. These were supposed to be fall flower beds, and I'm looking at them, and even in this, the germination was not great. And like I said, it's a failure on my part because of my drip not working, and then we had the storm, and it was just a whole mix of things. Then I was gone for a week. Good thing that this is the fall garden and not the main time to garden. Let's go check on in the hoop house. The flowers in the garden, in the Greenstalks, are still blooming. Nell's been watering them. So this is what I noticed in this first bed. We have lots of bug damage on the brassicas. I noticed this before I was leaving, but I haven't caught any bug on them. But you can see they have grown since I planted them out here. And I have the shade cloth because it has been getting really hot. Okay. So this back bed is where I planted cauliflower, and I only see one that germinated there, two. But again, like I said, I've been struggling with keeping this watered, and then I was gone after I planted this. So I'm gonna have to reseed this. And then obviously, ultimately, the goal would be to get my drip irrigation fixed, because I still want to get a harvest from these broccoli and cabbages, and then if I can replant my cauliflowers, that would be amazing. And you can see we got our 2 extra beds in here, and so I'm gonna have to, I did start moving away some of the landscaping rocks, but this is on my to-do list as well. This fall and winter is to get these beds filled up, get this all cleaned out. And this year, or the year coming up, inside the hoop house, my plan is to have it filled with flowers. Previous 2 years where I've had it built, I did tomatoes, and they did not do great. Although tomatoes do like the hot, they don't like it to get over 95. They'll stop producing flowers and stuff. And I didn't have great tomato harvest each year that I planted tomatoes in here. This year had great tomato success outside, and so I'm just gonna stick with that and make this into summer flower gardens. So think zinnias, marigolds, and like basil, stuff that yeah, just flowers, because eventually I do want to have my own cut flower garden. And so I've been trying to build up to learning about cut flowers. And although this past summer, I wanted to have a cut flower garden, I could not get my zinnias to grow. If you guys have grown zinnias or cut flowers inside of a hoop house, definitely let me know down in the comments. You guys would not believe, I just came over here to check on the drip irrigation and play with it again and take out the batteries, and it was already blinking. And although it was preset, it wasn't working because I had this nozzle closed, and so I just opened it, and now you can see it's dripping and it's actually working. So let's go to the garden and check on it. So yep, it's dripping. I don't know if you can see that in the hoop house. Let's check the garden. Yep, I already see it dripping out of this bed. Just gonna go check. Yep, see it dripping. See it dripping. Oh my goodness. Yep, I can hear it and see it dripping throughout the whole garden now, which is awesome. It's awesome that I don't have to buy a new irrigation timer, because that was going to be my next step. But then it's unfortunate because I could not get it to work for about 3 weeks, and so like you can see, those peas that dried out, we're not even gonna talk about it. We're not even gonna talk about it. That's even why I think this in-ground bed didn't have great germination, because you can see I only have one drip line going through. So on top of the seeds being old, only having one drip line, but then the drip wasn't working, and so I was out here watering. The water washes away that way, and so it could have washed away a lot of seeds during the storm, because I did come out here and a lot of soil was outside of the bed right here. So that doesn't surprise me. But it's a blessing that it's working now. Thank you guys for hanging out with me while I went to go check on the garden. We'll probably be back out here because, like I said, I have to go inside and find some, if I have any more of the seeds, and maybe plant even some brassica seeds straight into the garden. We'll see. I have to bring you guys along with me after I check my seeds. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.